So hi, welcome to End Credit Reviews, an episode after the credits on End Credit Reviews. This is Tyler from End Credit Reviews, and this is my review on the movie Artemis Fowl. So Artemis Fowl is a new movie that is based off a book franchise. It was originally supposed to be released in theaters, it kept getting delayed, and now it's on Disney+. And it's about a kid named Artemis Fowl, played by Fredia Shaw. I'm not so sure if I'm pronouncing that name correctly, but anyway, his father, named Artemis Fowl Sr., played by Colin Farrell, gets kidnapped, and it's up to him and some supernatural friends of his to try to rescue his father. Now, this movie was directed by Kenneth Branagh, who's directed some pretty visually interesting movies, such as the first Thor movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the live-action Disney remake of Cinderella, and various other movies too. And this is, without a doubt, not just his worst movie, but this has to be one of the absolute worst live-action Disney movies I have seen in quite some time. I mean, this is up there with like Underdog and The Haunted Mansion. It may be worse than those movies because at least I didn't nearly fall asleep watching those. They were somewhat kept me awake, even though they were bad. This was not only bad, but it was boring at the same time, which is weird because there's a lot of interesting things happening, supernatural characters going about doing their things. And it's just boring. The pacing, just everything, like the delivery about it, the soundtrack, just everything is just not good. Some of the lines in this movie are just horrendous. For instance, there is a character named Holly Short who is a fairy played by Laura McDowell, and she's tied up in this one room and she's kidnapped, and she finds out that she's all, tied up and in this room against her will, and she says, "Not happy." And I'm thinking to myself, this sounded like a bot wrote this, because usually in a script, when someone is described like what kind of emotion they're feeling, or even what a character's actions are doing in a script, when it says so-and-so is in the movie is not happy, they wouldn't say not happy out loud, okay? That is just so... I have never seen a movie in my life, at least not a mainstream movie, at that so bad at like just one line of dialogue. And then there's a part where she's having some banter with Josh Gad's character, who's a dwarf, and it plagiarizes a line from The Mummy, which is one of my favorite movies. I love that movie, and I know it's a nitpick, but the thing is, remember the part in The Mummy when Brendan Fraser's character is, strong-arming the weasel character Benny on that boat, and he's like, "Think of my children." "You don't have any children." "Someday I might." It's basically that, but they change up some of the lines where they want to avoid plagiarism of some kind, but it's ultimately the same joke. And also, again, back to Josh Gad, him and also Judi Dench in the movie, they both sound so like garly and deep in the voice. They both sounded like they smoked a whole truck full of cigarettes before filming every single day for the production of this movie. It really did sound like that. It was really distracting. It did not work for me. And also what didn't work for me about Josh Gad in the movie was that his character, I guess doors can have their hair extends where it can like pick locks, which makes no damn sense. It reminded me of that one anime character with the afro, the blonde afro with the facial hair or the nasal hair that extends outwards. I don't know what the name of that was. I forgot of it. But bottom line, this whole movie, you think that something interesting like that happening or something so bizarre happening like that, it would be interesting. But no, everything about it, like the pacing, everything the characters do in the movie is just boring. It's just boring. I can't describe how just boring it was to just watch this movie. That's also what makes it so frustrating in retrospect. I wasn't drunk watching it, but I felt drunk with boredom watching this movie, and now I'm like sobered up from the boredom, and I'm just angry and frustrated with this thing. I mean, I didn't hate this movie. It didn't like anger me. I don't think it's a terrible movie, but it's just bad. I mean, in the climax of the movie, not really much of a spoiler, but they launched this troll or whatever kind of big monster it was into the home, and the way they launch it is kind of like a Hot Wheels toy into it. It's just so silly, and they thought it looked cool, but I'm like, this is stupid. And just, again, what were they thinking? So Artemis Fowl is just a bad movie, easily one of the worst Disney movies I've ever seen in my life, whether it be a live action or an animated Disney movie, but there are just so many other better movies on Disney Plus you could be watching right now rather than this snooze fest. So as for Artemis Fowl, I would give it about 1.5 stars out of 4. So anyway, this is Tyler from End Credit Reviews. I hope you enjoyed this episode of After the Credits on End Credit Reviews, and I hope to make a lot more in the future. Please like and subscribe.